Merci, Rigas, for that wonderful introduction. Merci, Lionel. Merci, Bruno, La Ville, de Deauville, and my dear friend, Frederick Gauchin. Thank you. You may hear in my voice a slight cold. Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir, bonsoir Deauville, bonsoir à ma confrère Sene Est. To quote William Butler Yeats, there are no strangers here, only friends you haven't met. I'm deeply honored to be with you all tonight in Deauville, in the company of such great filmmakers, and to receive this magnificent tribute. This affirmation for my work as an actor and producer could not come at a better time in life. This honor bestowed upon me by the Deauville Film Festival for my work was one of the most meaningful and rewarding gifts I could receive. Merci beaucoup. I remember coming here for the first time to the festival with my wife, Keely, with a movie called The Thomas Crown Affair, a movie that was one of the many that inspired me to become an actor as a young man. The Deauville Film Festival was the most romantic of festivals for us to be part of. One night, Keely and I were at supper, and across the room was the great Sidney Pollack. And I looked up and he was walking towards us. And he came over and we greeted each other warmly. And he spoke with great affection for our movie, The Thomas Crown Affair. But the words that really lingered in my ear and my heart that night was, he said, enjoy it. They don't come around that often. Well, I'm still at the table, thanks to you all here tonight. And also to a wonderful director who I've managed to share my career with, Mr. Roman Polanski. Merci, Roman, for including me in that work. You truly are a great filmmaker and director. I've been an actor all my life. I left school at 16 with nothing more than a cardboard folder of drawings and paintings and a desire to be an artist. It was my only calling card. It was my only passport out. And after many disappointments in trying to find work, I finally found a job in Putney, South London, as a trainee commercial artist, basically drawing straight lines, watering the spider plants, and making cups of tea. But one morning I was hanging my coat up, and there was one of the guys from the photo studio, and I was talking about my love of the movies. And I really did have a very strong love of the movies growing up in Ireland. He suggested that I go to the Oval House Theatre. It was in South London, and it was at a time in the late 60s, experimental theatre. I wasn't sure if I was ready for that, but I went along, I hopped on the tube, and I walked in through those blue doors. And I was there in the company of like-minded people, poets, writers, dancers, actors, jugglers, hippies. It was the 70s. It was just the afterglow of the 60s. But that night, I entered into the world of magical thinking, the world of experimental theater, workshops with the La Mama Theater Company, the work of Jerzy Kratowski, fire eating, Martha Graham, dance. But through it all, I dreamt of the movies. After 3 years of working in that theater, experimental theater, I decided I needed an education as an actor. I needed to learn the craft. So I went off and I found a place called the Drama Center. It was a method school. And my teachers were Christopher Fettis and Yat Malgrim, amazing men. And they gave me the confidence to step forth onto the stage. I trained in the classics, and I worked in English repertory theatre up and down the countryside, BBC costume dramas, and a couple of West End plays, one with Franco Seffarelli, one with the great man himself, Tennessee Williams. He sent me a little telegram on opening night saying, "Thank God for you, my dear boy. Love, Tennessee Williams," which I still have. Anyway, after some years, I landed an American series, ABC television, called The Manions of America. It was about the Irish potato famine. And with that, my late wife said, well, we should go to America. And I borrowed £2,000 from the bank manager, and I hopped on a plane, and I ended up in Los Angeles in 1982. Found myself an agent, rented a car from Rent-A-Wreck, and drove over Laurel Canyon to my first interview. The car got to the top of Mulholland and blew up. I walked the rest of the way to the studio. I got there on time. The show was called Remington Steele, and I got the job. Luck of the Irish, I guess. I got my foot in the door, so I stayed. But still, I always was dreaming of the movies. That show was canceled in '86 after four years. And I was offered James Bond in The Living Daylights, and I thought, this is brilliant. It's all going to plan. Come to America, be a TV star, now go off and be a movie star, James Bond movie star. However, there was a clause in the contract which MTM, Mary Tyler Moore, they had 60 days in which to resell the show. And during those 60 days of waiting, I prepared to be James Bond in The Living Daylights, with a trainer, gun combat, and all of the above. And Cubby, the late Cubby, said, look, you can have him for 6 episodes, but no more than that. After 6, he's mine. The days rolled on. Day 58, day 59, day 60, brilliant. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I was living in the Malibu colony, and I thought, well, this is it. And I got a bottle of Cristal champagne out of the fridge. I was walking out onto the deck where my wife was, Cassie, and the phone rang. I thought, I just answered the phone. Hello, it was my agent, Fred Spector. Hi, Fred. Merd. What? Cubby had said he wanted me for 6 episodes. The studio said no, they wanted me for 22. It fell apart. That was it. By the next week, Tim Dalton, he was James Bond. And I got on with my life, as you do, You go find work. You never give up. Work begets work. Acting is about doing. These were my mantras. However, James Bond was not out of my life forever. 6 years later, it came back to me. And one of the greatest gifts from those 10 years, and there were many, was my friendship with Beaumarie St. Clair and forming our little company called Irish Dreamtime and making some of the movies that you have seen here tonight. The Thomas Crown Affair, The Matador. Each one of these holds a place in my heart. And as does James Bond, for without him, I would not have had such a great life as the one I have lived. And James Bond is the gift that keeps giving. And for that, I will be forever grateful. And throughout all of this wonderful life of making films and traveling the world has been my constant companion and love of my life, my darling wife, Keely. Thank you, with all of my heart, for being by my side every step of the way. The spirit of Irish Dreamtime lives on with us in our new documentary film, Poisoning Paradise. And so it brings us to this night. Here we are. As filmmakers, you are the architects and engineers of a new tomorrow. You will define every moment and every day like no species before us. You have the power to shape the future with your storytelling. stories that will tell the truth of our days, stories that will give hope and meaning to our children, stories that will fill our hearts with love and joy for being human. Bon choice. Have a great night, everyone. A million thanks. I'm deeply honored.